I've been watching Stuttering John a little bit, and I watched the show yesterday, and Carl, you know what I'm talking about. John was trying to tell this incredible story about how he made Howard Stern laugh and also got the best of his boss, Gary Dell'Abate, at the same time, and just what genius this was by John the comedian. And this was basically based on probably a 4-minute video that Cardiff had put up, and Cardiff had kind of made fun of John in his version of the video. So John was trying to turn the tables on Cardiff and point out how brilliant he was, and it just took too long, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's crazy because the video was this old Howard Stern clip where John had a Super Bowl party and he's treating his wife like garbage.
Yes.
He's calling her while she's upstairs saying, hey, I need you to bring me some more beers, and doing other stuff like showing off for his friends. And his friends happen to be coworkers who were in the studio there telling Howard about this. And John's watching this back, a divorced man watching this back and so proud of himself for being such an asshole. And then by the end of it, and yeah, you're right, he gets distracted by deliveries because Vince the lawyer is constantly sending food to his house and getting distracted by everything else.
Yeah,
so
super
it takes forever to get to the thing he's trying to get to, where he reveals that Gary had to clean up his son's puke because his wife was out playing tennis on a weeknight.
Yeah, she should have been home like Susanna to clean up the puke.
And it's crazy because they act like, yeah, Gary, what's wrong with you? Why would you clean up your son's puke? It's like, well, because that's my son. I'm his father.
Yeah, and his mother was out playing tennis. So, yeah, I did that. And so they're making fun of him. And then John further reveals that this is nothing, him, calling his wife in the kitchen to bring beer to him during the Super Bowl. He woke up to a giant, grotesque dog shit on the bedroom floor and stepped over it and left Susanna a note to clean it up.
Oh.
And went to work.
It's crazy because you go back and you watch these old episodes, and John doesn't realize this, but John is divorced recently, and we covered this on a bonus show. All of his child support court issues came up because it's all public information. He stopped paying child support for many months.
Yeah.
And he acts like he cares about his family and his kids and everything. And he acts like, Susanna and I are still in love. We still love each other. And it turns out he was the worst husband. He was a terrible father. He was bragging about it on Stern. He made fun of Gary Dell'Abate, Baba Booey, for being a good husband and father. Meanwhile, Gary's still married. His family all loves him. He's doing very well, and John's just the opposite.
And John also declares at one point, because Cardiff had said in there that, it seems like Gary got a lot out of this marriage, because they show a picture of Mary, Gary's wife, who's really quite pretty. And John's like, I disagree. I don't think she's that hot. And then he goes on to say that Gary had an affair, and this guy knew from the Tonight Show, saw him out with 2 women and tried to take his picture. He's like, no pictures. And Gary had an affair. I've never heard that, actually. Is that news?
Yeah, I think that's a rumor that John started and is continuing. It's unbelievable, too, because, Drew, you and I talked on the phone a little bit today. Yeah. This whole idea that, and I know that John's mad at Gary because Gary was John's boss, and John has a problem with authority. He doesn't want to be told what to do. He doesn't want it because he was a terrible employee. So, of course, if you're a terrible employee, you don't like your boss. But most people get along with their boss and they understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, it's not that heavy a deal that they're actually your boss. And most people, right. It's just the way it is. But with John, yeah, it's a huge deal. And the fact that he faces Gary is genius. And it's what everyone wants. And 20 million people listening just love this great moment in time, which is really a big nothing.
But also, he's so vindictive that 20 years after he left the Howard Stern show, he's still trying to get his former boss in trouble and trying to call him up for cheating. It's like, even if Gary was cheating, I have no idea. Who knows? But
I've never heard that.
Let it go, John. Jesus.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's so funny to me that here's Cardiff, who's a potato. You don't see Cardiff. You see a potato with eyes and a smiling mouth through a lot of this as he's doing play-by-play of the video. And at many points, John is looking down at the potato in the video, screaming at him. Screaming at a smiling potato for what he's saying about John. Because John, and he does say, he says, I should have edited him out of the video. Yeah, you should have used the original video, you idiot, to prove your genius in this thing. But no, he gets totally distracted by the smiling potato and is screaming at him. He's so mad at Carter through this whole thing. He has to keep stopping the video to yell at him. And that's just the beginning. There's so many interruptions here. He gets interrupted by a beer delivery. And you watch it, Carl. It cracked me up because he's like, yeah, what's your name? And he goes like, Brandon. And then he goes, you know who I am? And he goes like, yeah, I know who you are. And they say, what's your name? Brandon. I mean, he can't remember this guy's name 5 seconds later. And then he's like, you know what a star I am. And so he's so full of himself when he comes back to the video, only to be interrupted again by, is it a text message from Kate Meany?
Yeah, so then it gets started by Kate Meany, but let me just back up real quick because this is the part that maybe a lot of viewers don't know about, is that Vince the lawyer sends all of these Grubhub orders and different things, Postmates to John's house while he's broadcasting, just
to troll.
And what he puts in the notes, because Vince has sent me the screen grabs, what he does, he puts in the notes, this is for my famous uncle, Stuttering John. If you can tell him that you know who he is, he gets very excited. So it's not even these people know who he is. They're just been instructed to say, hey, are you Stuttering John?
Yeah, because the guy calls him Stuttering. He doesn't even call him Stuttering John.
John's like, oh,
you know who I am.
John. And the other thing, too, is that this is like the dabble zone is what Cardiff is doing. So it's supposed to be a takeoff. It's like Rod Serling is there, and it's all in black and white, and so it's highly stylized and stuff. And John's sitting there just yelling at this potato, not understanding what the bit is at all, not getting it.
No, and he calls it, that's a big swing and a miss, Cardiff.
Yeah,
oh,
I know.
he's so fucking mad. But anyway, so John gets interrupted again just because he sees a text message. I don't know, did it ding? He still doesn't have his notifications off, does he?
Right, so his phone is connected to his MacBook. So every time someone texts him, you audibly hear and you see him get distracted by the note that comes in. Yeah, exactly. You hear that over and over again. And it's great because that's the other thing that Vince the lawyer does is he texts John nonstop while he's live on the show over and over again.
He gets so mad.
I mean, this is a dumb question. He doesn't know he can turn off all those sounds.
You would think he would Google that. It's so easy to figure out. And it's great, too, because he also doesn't understand that Vince is doing that to annoy him, because he'll be like, Vince, you better stop, because this is really starting to annoy me. You idiot.
Point.
I think you don't care.
But Carl, you hear this ding, and then, he's distracted, and all of a sudden he's like, I wasn't trashing Kate. What are you talking about? Is trashing her? He's talking to the text, which nobody knows what the text is, but we can kind of figure it out. So he gets so worked up by this, and starts talking about Kate Meany, and then he decides, oh, I'm going to send her a link, and she can join me on the show so everybody can see how great we're getting along. And then this is taking so long because he realizes he doesn't have her email. So he's trying various emails live on the show. I mean, seems like he can do as a producer. He loves bragging about the fact that I don't need anyone to do a show. I do it all by myself. But he is so hamstrung by that. It takes him like 2.5 minutes to send this link to Kate Meany, who, by the way, does not show up on the show.
He types with one finger.
Yes.
So you watch him type, and he's typing on the same computer that he uses for his microphone. So it's so loud. You hear every single keystroke that he's doing. And someone brought this up on the Uncle Rico show, one of the super chatters, which is brilliant. The fact that it takes him so long to find an email address that he definitely has, is probably because he has so many sock accounts. He's logged into the wrong email and he's looking for, I don't have, why is it not in here? And then he has to log out, then log back into another one and look for it. So that's why it takes so long. And you're watching all this in real time. Crazy.
Then he has to also stop because super chats come in that distract the shit out of him. Like, he gets a super chat that Artie's on a documentary and says he hates you. So he has to stop the video and say, Artie made a video when he turned 40 and he said that he loved me. It's on video.
Oh my God.
So I don't believe that. It's like, are you ever going to finish what you're... I mean, it was unbelievable how many distractions there were. Absolutely incredible. It took 40 minutes to get through a video that was probably 3.5 minutes long.
And he thinks he's killing it.
Yes. It's genius. I mean, it's the best example. I played Baba Booey like a fiddle. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the other distractions. There were so many. That's genius, entertaining 20 million people. And then he starts yelling at the frozen potato again. Let's see, the knock on the door, yelling at Vince. don't send me any more shit. But then he corrects that and says, unless it's a new computer. Oh, he stops at one point to announce that it's donate to John's new computer fund this week. I mean, after telling us how successful and rich he is, he insists he needs giant super chats to buy a new computer, which has been broken for how long, Carl?
This has been going on for so many months. It freezes up once an episode at least, where he has to reboot and then log back in. And he keeps saying he's going to get it fixed, and then he never does. And then he was going to, the latest thing was he's going to borrow a friend's computer just to see if it's actually the computer that's the problem.
No, it's not. We can all agree it's operator error, right? Yeah.
But then Mark, he goes, well, I could buy a new computer, which I could easily afford, obviously.
Do it.
But I want to just make sure first. And then, like you said, he's talking about donate money towards my new computer. I'm like, I thought you could easily afford
one.
What's going on?
There were a couple sneezing fits, too, where he wipes his nose on his shirt, which makes a mark. I mean, sneezing fits.
Which makes a mark.
Gross. Yeah, the funny thing is, so John lives in a 500 square foot apartment in Canoga Park, and so he's in the Valley in LA. And we've heard him interact with his landlady because she came over one time to take the broken stove out. And you hear them like walking through cans and bottles. He's like, yes, I didn't clean anything. I figured, it's broken. So what's the difference?
I figure you're going to take it, so why would I clean it? And they don't really agree with that either.
Right. You hear the landlady be like, well, I mean, he could have
Cleaned around it. Yeah.
Right. So basically, our theory is, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, is that John is living in such filth. It's such a small place and it's so filthy. There's probably black mold that his nose is running constantly.
Yeah,
he's snotting all over himself throughout the entire show. He's wiping it. He used to have paper towel. Then he switched to toilet paper because that's cheaper. Now it's his shirt.
That was shirt.
It's so gross. And what's great though, Brandon, is that he tries to act like, oh, and now the shitware, which is Shuli's name, the shitware and a lady came out will be playing this over and over again. Go, oh, look at John wiped his nose off on his shirt. Yeah, it's fucking gross, dude. What are you doing?
Yep.
He's so self-aware after he does something stupid.
Yeah, he knows he's going to hit hard.
Beforehand.
He does. He'll end up saying something. He'll say something and then go, John, because he knows in his mind. John. He knows that Carl is going to talk about it.
And it always makes me laugh when he says, John. The line I just loved, it made me laugh out loud, is when he actually gets to the part where Howard is laughing. Like, Howard is laughing, you dumb potato. They would never laugh at you, Cardiff. He would never laugh at you. He never laughed at Shuley. I mean, like, this is the biggest fucking victory. And then he goes back to the video where Cardiff says, yeah, when Susanna's looking for a new husband, she plays this tape, of John talking about leaving the shit and leaving her a note. And John says, swing and a miss, Cardiff. It's like, no, not a swing and a miss at all. What are you talking about?
But isn't that telling of how much John needs daddy's approval?
Yes.
That he's sitting there and watching, going, see, Howard was giggling at a thing I said. Yeah. And it's not even like he told a joke. It's that John is such a worthless human being that Howard's amused by it. He's like, oh, I had Susanna come in and clean up all the empties off the coffee table while me and my friends watched the game. And I told her to make more wings. And Howard's like, what? This is crazy. But in John's mind, I gotta laugh. I'm winning.
The king of all media is laughing at me. It's genius.
Yeah, at you.
He calls it genius. I mean,
crazy.
It is just unbelievable. It takes 44 minutes to get through that part of the show, and the interruptions are just incredible. It is the best example of how not to podcast a show. There's absolutely no flow. There's so many distractions. I think a person with Alzheimer's could focus a show better than John. Honestly.
You're saying that Jay Leno's wife would do a better job putting on a show.
Oh, he gets distracted by Jay Leno, too, because someone says, hey, John, why don't you get Jay Leno for beer on the balcony? And John says, oh, Jay's done beer on the balcony before. He is dealing with a terrible problem right now with Mavis, and I wish Jay and Mavis well. They're both very nice people.
Sure, that meant a lot to him.
The worst part is, so Mavis has Alzheimer's, and he goes, I hope that she gets better.
Oh, my God.
That's not how that works. hey, Jay, sorry I had dementia last month. I'm better now. Let's go out.
Oh. Hey, okay. Is there an episode? Because he says, oh, check the archives to watch Jay on
Was he on there?
Is he really on Beer on the Balcony?
Yeah, he did have Jay. He phoned in every favor he could get early on when he was podcasting. So he's had some notable celebrities on the show. Remember, He worked for the Tonight Show for 10 years. He met every celebrity in Hollywood multiple times.
Hey, when Jay was on that show, was he better? Was he on his best behavior? Did he prep anything, or was it just, here's my friend Jay?
I don't remember, but I'll tell you this. Back then, John wasn't so focused on the Dabbleverse. One of the problems that John's having right now is that he thinks that the entire world is his world. And someone was making this point recently, and it's a brilliant point. There's a lot of people who know who Stuttering John is, and most of them haven't followed him to this point in his career.
No.
So if you were just to look at John's Twitter and see that he's on there going, the shitware and Lady K are losers. He's just like 10 times a day typing about the shitware and Barbara. And
all these family members of Carl on there that no one would know.
Yeah, he's literally posting photos of me and my friends and my family and calling us losers. If you didn't know what John was up to and you just saw this, you'd be like, this guy's lost his mind.
What the hell's going on with John?
He'll never work in Hollywood again with the way he's acting and interacting with people.
So Jay Leno just gets bored and stumbles upon his Twitter now and is like, what happened to this guy?
I wonder if Jay would be amused if he saw what was going on. I can't help but think he'd be laughing at some of it. It's just so goddamn funny.
I wouldn't be surprised because Howard Stern predicted this. We've played clips where he predicted what would happen to John. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jay Leno also just like, yeah, this is what we thought. This is what we thought would happen.
Yeah.
Predictable.
Yeah, and Howard, you'd think Howard would acknowledge it at some point. It is fucking hilarious.
I know. And it's too bad because I know that the guys in the back office, the guys who work for Howard Stern, are following all of this. They reach out to me. They reach out to Shuley. They're loving it. They would love it if Howard would bring this up. But you got to remember that Howard is doing everything he can to make everyone forget his past.
Yeah.
He wants to erase his history. He'll never bring up Stuttering John. He doesn't want things coming up about him in blackface and all the shit that he used to do. He wants to be a big time talk show host who interviews celebrities.
And I assume the guys in the back cannot come on who are these podcasts or they would get in trouble.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Too bad. But anyway.
Someday, though.
Yeah, someday.
Howard won't be doing it forever, so
Someday.
that's going to be fun.
No, it's really been quite a ride. It was fun getting caught up. But today, Carl sent some cuts over for a Jameela Jamil podcast called
Oh, no.
Bad Dates.
Guys, the reason why I checked this out is because, as you know, Smartless Media just made a $100 million deal with SiriusXM. And one of the things that the SiriusXM is purchasing is the show Bad Dates.
Oh, boy.
Oh God, this is like a bad FM morning show idea, like one day topic from the 90s. I mean, a bad idea. And
Let me
now it's a
read the
whole
description.
show.
I'll read the description for you. It says, everybody has had them. Everybody can relate to them. And now it's time to laugh at them on Bad Dates, a hilarious new comedy podcast hosted by Jameela Jamil. Each week, Jameela's favorite comedians, celebrities, and funny friends share their epic and true dating nightmares and misfires. Like the tale of the guy who could only get frisky on top of a pile of stuffed Garfield toys, or the enraged beauty queen with food poisoning who chased her date through a kitchen window.
Oh, God.
There's even a bad date that involved gay Bigfoot.
What?
Oh, Jesus. And it's no, the email example that came in during the show that you're going through is such bullshit.
It's made up. I know.
It's totally made up. No, it's absolutely horrible. And by the way, this show is chocked full of commercials. I don't know how it does, but it had 4 commercial breaks. It's only a 40-minute show.
Yeah, well, yeah, 4 commercial breaks, correct. I think there's 8 different commercials in it. Some of them host-read for pretty big brands like Peloton and things like that. And obviously, they're a Wondery show and a Smartless show. And one of the things, I'm sure you guys have read the SiriusXM agreement, is they're looking to get not only the ability to sell sponsors up for these shows, but exclusive content from each of these podcasts.
Yeah.
So this is a show that there's no way they have enough listeners to justify the sponsors and advertising that's coming in.
Oh, no, I wouldn't think so.
I did want to mention Jameela Jamil. She's from The Good Place. I think that was her big break. But don't we know her as someone that has every ailment
Yes.
that has ever been, acknowledged in the world?
No, she's a nut. Carl, I think you did
Or
another
you
one
just
of her
say she's a nut.
podcasts before.
Yeah, we've talked about her before. She's very much one of these virtue signalers. In fact, the episode that we checked out was with Meghan Trainor.
Oh.
It's all about that bass. Meghan Trainor and her brother Ryan Trainor They do a podcast together called Working on It, and I guess they live together for some reason.
It's so ridiculous. And Ryan Trainor, by the way, doesn't he sound like the kind of guy that when you meet him, you immediately find out that he's Meghan Trainor's brother?
Oh,
yes.
like
Phineas. Oh, yeah, that's his claim to fame for sure.
Yeah.
But I want you to play my cut number 1 on here, because the way this show starts off, it's the Mutual Admiration Society. And listen to why Jameela is such a huge fan of Meghan.
Meghan and Ryan. Hello, welcome to Bad Dates. How are you?
Hello.
So
Fantastic. Lovely to
good.
meet you. Thank you for having
Yeah.
us.
Thanks
It's an
for letting
honor.
us be on here. We love you. I'm so happy that you're here. And Meghan, I'm a big fan of yours and every kind of message you've put out there in the world.
Whatever, her music before her message.
For virtue signaling. That's what she's a fan of.
Oh, Jesus. And, you know,
Doesn't it sound like everyone on the show is British?
Yeah.
It's just the one person who's British.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, Meghan Train's like, oh, hello, oh, hey, hey.
you know what's amazing too, and they get to this eventually, is how many different things, the revenue streams these people all want to have having in at once. You can't just focus on one thing. Meghan and her brother, who are the guests, they have a podcast, and she's got a book called Dear Future Mama. It's like no one just specializes in one thing anymore.
Yeah, and I got to say, Meghan Trainor, I guess she has a better musical career than I realized.
Yeah, she does.
I
Pretty good.
thought she
I
was
don't
like
know.
a one-hit wonder, but I'm out of it when it comes to that kind of stuff. So apparently she's killing it.
Yeah, I looked her up. She does very well. I think she won a couple Grammys, hasn't she?
Really?
Wow.
Oh, maybe not Grammys.
What is winning a Grammy?
That's
have to do
true.
with
No.
anything?
Silly me.
It is amazing how these people are all brands now. You know, everything, they got to have all this. I mean, back in my day, Cobain killed himself because he didn't want to sell out. Now the whole point is to sell out.
What would Kurt's podcast have been?
Oh shit! Him shooting himself in the head.
Oh, that's a funny concept. And by the way,
Maybe we
I'm
could
sure
recreate
AI
or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Carl, I know we hit on a lot of the same topics when we listen to stuff, but did you happen to catch the credits for this show?
I did. I didn't pull the clip, but yeah, I did catch there's a lot of credits at the end.
15 people are credited. Oh, wow. There's an executive producer. There's a producer. There's a creator. There's an edited and engineered by, also engineered by, talent producer, associate producer, music by, executive producer. It's 15 people, and this podcast is nothing. It's Jameela Jamil talking to a brother and sister about bad dates with a little bit of music added in once in a while, and there's a little jingle, bad dates, that goes in and out of commercials. That's it.
Well, frankly, based on that first clip, they should have hired a different editor because you didn't need all that "we love you" stuff in the beginning.
Oh yeah, no, it's it's only 40 minutes long, so apparently there's not a ton of material.
God, wouldn't you love to, I mean, you guys wouldn't because you've already heard it, but wouldn't you? I would love to hear the unedited version of that show just to hear what they edited out.
Yeah, it's probably just to make it listenable on any basis at all. They would have to edit it. I just looked it up, by the way. They have less audience, Carl, than your show or my show.
Ooh. Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all.
No, I'm not surprised, but just saying.
Who would listen to this thing? Also, Jameela Jamil.
15 people working on it.
Podcast is insane.
15 people working on a show that has less audience than you or I.
If they told 5 people they know to listen, I mean, come on, it's not a bad audience.
Yeah, we'll see.
Right. So, of course, it's a show about bad dates. So, of course, they talk about dating and it gets sexy from time to time. So, the fact that they have a brother and sister on here is a little weird. So, there's a question about it being weird. And this is my trek, too.
He just doesn't really have a choice anymore at this point, especially he lives with me in my house. So, he's going to hear it. He's going to see some things. He knows all about my anal fissures and my butthole.
Oh.
Can you believe a female artist is talking about her anal fissures and her butthole?
Can you believe publicly? A brother would know about his sister's anal fissures and buttholes?
Oh, I know. And her one-night stands. Because she likes to fuck first to find out if she likes the person.
Yeah, she does talk about
Who talks about that in front of their brother? That's kind of weird.
She's a class act, for sure.
It's kind of cool that she does that, though.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Come on. Let's not come down too hard on that.
My third track on here is Meghan talking about how none of her brother's friends ever wanted to fuck her. And so Ryan comes up with a reason why that is.
Okay.
I was in the bathroom with him and I was like, bro, what's wrong with me? No one even wants to kiss me. And he's like, I don't know. Did I try to tell them that it's okay? And they just didn't.
Well, I'm like, you're a scary pop star. Like, it's scary. You're scary. I don't know what to tell you. It's not your fault. You're so like
Just
Well,
scary.
You got your own money. You have a career. Like that scares a lot of guys. I'm gonna be honest. I
That's
just
fair.
it was a situation at the time.
So it's not because she's ugly and annoying and
Has
often
anal
overweight.
fissures.
It's because she has a lot lot of money. That's why
Yeah,
guys don't wanna fuck
right.
her.
Yeah,
Okay.
guys hate dating women with lots of money.
Nice telling your friends too. Hey, you can fuck my sister. She wants it.
No thanks, bro.
Fuck. It's New Year's Eve. They're drunk as shit. And he's telling his friends, "Hey, I want you to my sister. Come on."
with my sister.
Speaking of drunk, she sounded drunk in that clip. Is that just how she sounds all the time?
That's how she sounds. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I guess.
Interesting accent.
So Meghan and her husband have toilets next to each other. Remember the
Oh, yeah,
love
yeah.
potty that Kevin Nealon skit from SNL?
Great
back in the
sketch.
day?
Yeah.
So basically, she actually has this. My track number 4, they talk about it.
You guys for a while shared a toilet. You no longer share a. As in, like you had 2 toilets next to each other in the bathroom. That's no longer the case, or it is still the case.
Oh, it's forever the case.
Okay,
Till
so
the
that
death
is
do us part.
remarkable. That is remarkable progress from being someone who was terrified of shitting in public
Right.
places. So I'll never do that, but I'm very proud of you because I've not overcome. We still don't fart in front of each other. So I don't know if
Really?
I don't know if
Wait,
I've ever
how
spoken
long-
about it on this podcast before. But we've
Wait,
been together
how
for
long
8
have you been
years.
together?
8
No!
years, bro.
Yeah.
Like a
8
decade.
years, and we've never farted in front of each other. At least
You
not while
gotta
awake.
fart. Does your tummy hurt?
These are adults. Just want to point out.
I mean, Meghan Trainor sounds like if she was in here for an interview the first time we met her, if she had to let one rip, she would just let it rip.
Yeah.
Like it's no big deal. And all this conversation about shitting in public too, she's like, oh yeah, I was always afraid like her parents did a terrible job of raising her because they didn't go through the business of shitting in public. And oh yeah, I talk to my kids about it all the time, about how wonderful shitting in public is. This is just the weirdest conversation.
Not true. Come on.
It's people have nothing to talk about.
Yeah, it's
so
not
they're trying to
true.
be interesting. And by the way, I just want to point out, great purchase, SiriusXM. Good job. I don't usually give out stock tips, but sell. All right, so they follow up on this later because they really do have a bathroom with 2 toilets in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they can sit next to each other. But Meghan wants to clear this up. She's like, listen, we're not shitting next to each other. That would be crazy. So my track number 6, she explains what's really going on.
So at this new house, I have an extra toilet. Like instead of that bidet that we won't use probably, pop in this other toilet, and we sit and pee together all the time. At like
great.
3 a.m. when I get up, he'll come with me and we'll hold hands, and it's so lovely. In the morning when we'll pee together, and I'll be like, "What are you doing today?" You know.
See, they
She's
could
like,
have pillow talk and
we
piss
have
talk.
we have a calendar in our bathroom, and I'm like, "Well, what's the
great.
schedule?" You know.
Oh, it's so weird. I love it. I love it so much. We'll be right back.
So basically, your husband pisses sitting down.
Yeah, Mark, thank you. She just outed her husband as he sits down to pee. I'm sure he's like, great, thanks for putting that out there. That's
I
awesome.
know. Couldn't she just open her legs a little bit and you can piss in between her?
tried
Connect
that?
streams? I don't know.
Do you really want to hold hands while you piss with your
No,
wife?
no one wants to. You mean one of these adults can't hold their piss for what, a minute until the other one's done?
That
insane.
is so weird. She sounds like the biggest skank.
Gross.
Everything about her sounds so skanky.
She said he's a pussy.
Well, Drew, since you brought that up, the question is posed to Ryan. Or, well, actually, no, this is crazy. The question is posed to Meghan what it's like to date you. And Ryan hops in. Her brother hops in with an answer. This is my track number 5. This is nuts.
Meghan, what would you say it was like to date you? Like, what's the experience like if you could just pitch it to me?
I'm a fun time, I think. I'll make you laugh.
She's like a bro, dude.
like
She'll
a
just
bro.
crack jokes. She'll burp. I don't know why you're afraid. She doesn't want to fart, but she'll burp all day. Cracks
I'm the
jokes.
same.
Complains about the food. Probably wants better food.
I also like hook up early because I want to know if it's worth my time.
You got to see. Yeah. You got to see
You
what's
try
going
before
on.
you buy.
He's encouraging his sister to fuck people immediately.
Basically, she's like a bro. She burps. She complains about food. She's easy. It's great.
I don't want to hang out with those guys that do that all the time.
She wants
either.
to fart, but she doesn't.
Who wants to hang out with someone that's bitching about the food all the time?
Well, they're going to hook up pretty quick. So
Yeah, after
there's
she
that.
burps and farts in front of you.
No,
She
I-
sounds awful.
Yeah.
She sounds like a train wreck. And then the big thing about this show is that you have to tell a story about a bad date. So her story was her first boyfriend went to kiss her and she puked.
Fake!
Yeah, which is a
That's some South Park
thing, but
shit,
okay,
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, that's not true.
And
Yeah,
then
it turned
his
out,
story.
It
which I
turned
don't
out
have-
though, Carl, that she had the flu. It was just a matter of timing. It wasn't that she puked because he was going to kiss her. She had the flu, right? Isn't that what she said?
Yeah. So
Which is just dumb.
Still don't
it's just
believe it.
dumb. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But then his story, where he was going out with this Instagram model,
Fake.
and
It's already fake.
He explains that when he goes out, he drinks his face off. He's like, yeah, we get a double tequila on the rocks before dinner, and then we drink 2 bottles of wine, and then there's more tequila after dinner. He's like, this is how I go out. This is what I do. So this woman who he forces to drink her face off comes back to his place and pukes all over the place. Or back to Megan's place, I should say, because
Yeah.
he lives with his sister.
Which he calls his place, but it is
Yeah.
Megan's house.
Yes, correct. So his date pukes all over the place. So this numbnuts decides, hey, I should probably call an Uber to bring her home, and then she pukes all over inside the Uber. So that was his big story about a bad date. And it sounds like he was the bad date in this scenario, right?
Well, yeah, he got her fucking hammered. I mean, what? I couldn't believe that neither one of these two females said, God, you really get your dates that drunk? Because he acted like that's just how he rolls on every day.
How else is he going to close the deal?
I guess. Get him blackout drunk?
Yeah, apparently.
If being Meghan Trainor's brother doesn't work, I guess you just get him hammered. Did you get a picture of this guy? Did you happen to look these people up, Carl?
I did, yes. I did look him up, and listen, he's not my type. Maybe he's for you, Drew. I don't know.
Oh, he looks like kind of a goofball, doesn't he? Yeah, he would need to get women blackout drunk and tell them he's Meghan Trainor's brother, because he's not getting laid any other way. God, I had no idea he would look like that. That's really bizarre.
He looks like somebody.
Looks like a real zero, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He looks like Meghan Trainor. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, that's always weird.
All right, so finally we get an anecdote from Jameela. And she tells this story that is nonsensical and very dumb. This is my track number 7.
I remember like the moment I knew that my flatmate Dave was like one of the greatest men that I would ever meet in my life is when my whole life I've been too scared to open windows at night because I was terrified a bee would get in, because I just feel like I have this like bees are my nemesis and they're like all out to get me, and it's like a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy.
Yeah.
Like we have
get
beef
that.
from like another life. I don't know what's going on.
Oh, God, grow up.
Yeah, it's insane. This whole story is so stupid. She's trying to explain that, wow, Ryan's such a great guy for cleaning up this girl's puke even when he was also drunk. And she goes, I used to roommate with this person who helped me because I guess a pigeon got in to her.
Yeah, and shit all over the place.
apartment, and the drunk roommate helped get the pigeon out of there. But the idea that she was afraid to open a window at nighttime because a bee would get in.
Does she not have?
Bees are not out at nighttime. You know that, right?
Okay. Does she not have screens?
You could also have a screen. Yeah, even in England, even in London,
They
you
have
could
screens.
Have a screen.
I don't know.
No, she's scared of the dumbest things. I mean, that's like the 4th thing she mentions in the show that she's so scared of. Oh, I'm so scared of cracking windows. What?
Well, remember, she has
Fucking
every mental health ailment.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so the format of the show is they spend the first segment getting to know each other and being goofy. Then they go into their bad dates and they tell those stories. Then after another commercial break, they come back and they read a story from a listener. And this is what we were talking about earlier. This listener, let me just try to summarize it. And Drew, if I missed something, let me know. So the listener basically says, he goes, I had the worst date. I was supposed to go with my girlfriend to my parents' house. She dumped me 3 days before. So I go out to the bar because I'm depressed. And I'm getting really drunk, and I look across the bar, and there's an elf. And I'm like, did I just see an elf? And it turns out it's a woman dressed in an elf costume. So he goes over and talks to her. She had just gotten fired from her job at the mall where she was being an elf. And she was
Oh no.
Oh,
whatever closing time is, they get kicked out of the bar. Like, all right, you guys got to go. So then they walk out of the bar, and she happens to also work for an old folks home that has one of those vans where they transport the old people in it. And it's in the parking lot. And she goes, hey, come with me. And they go in the back of this van and they have sex. And at the end of the sex, all of a sudden, this guy hears applause. The van is full of old people who are watching this whole thing happen.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and he never noticed anyone else in the vehicle when he got in. Really?
Yeah, right.
But also, think about how dumb this is. So they were there until closing time, which is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever that is.
Leaving these old people in the car the whole time.
So old people are just sitting in this car. It's Christmas time. They say it's freezing outside. So is the van running this whole time? I would assume it'd have to be. And then they get in the back and they bang, and he doesn't know that. And then it ends with old people going, "Yeah, weighted nuts."
I know old people would
and then
love
he's
that.
Embarrassed. So at the end of the story, which is so made up and so stupid, who knows who came up with this? I don't think they have listeners. But the reaction, at least by track number 8, at least Ryan is trying to be real here.
But this guy should be like a writer, should write fictional stories for a living. That was so well written. I was just along for that ride the entire time.
It's real, dog.
It's real.
It's a real thing, I think.
How the fuck do you go into a van and not see anybody in the van?
Thank you.
Oh my God, what an idiot she is.
How could you make that up? No, how could it actually happen?
Yeah.
Making it up is the easy part.
No, there's so many things about it that are totally ridiculous. I mean, but then they discuss it a little more, and don't they determine that, oh, yeah, it probably is real? I think he comes around.
Well, that's the thing. They try to get Ryan on board. They're like, you don't understand the premise of the show. We have to believe this shit.
He doesn't want to get evicted.
He gets elbowed or something and decides it's real.
All right, I have one more track on here. This is my favorite part of any of these shows where these people come together and they're all pseudo celebrities. They have to act like they love each other. So this is my track number 9.
Megan and Ryan, you guys have been great. So nice to meet you guys.
But yeah.
Well, you never know.
This was the most fun.
Yes, thank you so much for letting us be on your podcast, your show. We love you. We worship you. And
You're so
congrats
sweet.
on everything.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I have to say, I love coming on the Drew and Mike show every other Tuesday. It's never the most fun. There are a lot of things I do that are a lot more fun.
It is some work.
And we don't love you that much either.
It's so stupid. I love that that's like, holy crap, that last 40 minutes blew my mind. How much fun was that we just had a nonsensical conversation with each other?
No,
Wow.
I'm glad
Can't
the
believe
audience
it.
doesn't fall for it, because honestly, they do have significantly smaller audience. And then I looked up the Trainors podcast too. It has less audience than Bad Dates. So neither of these shows are doing terribly well considering how much attention they get.
Good.
Yeah.
You know, you originally gravitated towards Who Are These Podcasts because we were poking fun at all these celebrities who were trying to podcast. And I think for a very long time that worked. People are like, I know who that person is.
Yeah.
And they listen to the show. But I do get a sense now, you know, Smartless is one of the exceptions. They do a good job though.
Yeah.
But I do get the sense now that it's turning into the fact that not every celebrity with a podcast is interesting for people. People are getting turned off by it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't think people fall for it very easily. I think the podcast listeners are getting pretty sophisticated, and there's some serious pod fading going on with famous people. But it still pisses me off that they get so much publicity like this. Amy and TJ, every fucking episode, there's a story about what happened on their podcast. It's like, get out of here, stop.
But that's because the media covers the media. There's no way people are actually watching. I mean, you've talked about how much their audience has dropped. There's no way people are listening to that show. It's so boring. All they do is talk about themselves. Who cares?
No, but there must be people that click on the stories. I mean, they must be clickbaity to have all those. I mean, you're right, Drew. Every day there's a new story about it.
They have a YouTube channel, by the way. They get less than 1,000 views.
Wait, they
for
have a
show.
YouTube channel?
Yeah.
They put the show on there?
It's not. I don't think there's video, but there's audio.
Or is it videos of them fucking?
It's hardly any views. Yeah, that'll be OnlyFans will be their final place, the resting spot.
I don't know why they haven't. Slow down. Come on.
Carl, if you had to pick one play in the Lions game that really blew the game for them, was there one play you could pick?
So I know you guys talked about the Gibbs fumble, and I totally agree with that's probably the play. But I have to say, and Eli said this too, I felt the same way when I was watching the game. The fact, and I know he always goes for it on fourth down, the fact that you don't kick the field goal and go up by 3 scores in the third quarter, I was so enraged by that. I'm like, this is a dumb decision right now. Get the points. The Niners now have to come back 3 scores. Yeah. And this is the other thing about football is that it's a very emotional game and there's a lot of momentum involved. How would the Niners come back out on the offense knowing they're 3 scores down?
Yeah, it's a
You
possession.
don't know how they would have played after that, because now it's like, oh man, we cannot get this right. Instead, they let them get all the momentum going in the third quarter, and of course, the game completely changed.
You know, a lot of people have pointed out the analytics, you know, the decision making, all that crap.
Right.
I think it does boil down to the fact, though, he thought he could get it, right? It's only 3
Yeah.
yards, and I don't think Badgley is that automatic at 45 yards. So
I think that's
also, when people talk about the analytics, are they factoring in the score? I think a
Yes.
lot of times they think about where it is in field position and what percentage and things like that. But think about it, you're already up by 2 touchdowns.
the fourth down bot on Twitter, which I don't know if anybody knows what that is.
I don't.
But they do factor in down distance and time and score in the whole measurement of it. But it still is, you know, it still doesn't factor necessarily that team and that kicker. Not all of them.
That was a 45-yard field goal. If you can't count on
I
your
agree.
kicker
It's
for a
the NFL.
45-yard field goal, that's
I mean,
ridiculous.
look at Buffalo.
I know a team that can't count on their kicker for a 45 yard
There you go. See?
I'm sorry.
Were you as pissed off at Jim Nance as I was for referencing
Right.
Norwood? Like, what?
No, you have to. I made the joke I do a show, The Creep Off, on Mondays. And of course, my buddy Vinny was happy to rub that in. I made the joke. I'm like, yeah, I didn't watch the game. It was a rerun. I've seen the Bills play that game many times.
Joke. It's a great joke.
Oh, God,
So
what a
painful.
bitch.
Yeah.
And now it's the Chiefs and 49ers.
But I had to tell you guys, I was pulling for the Lions. My wife, she's pulling for the Lions afterwards. She's like, I'm done with football. I'm not watching football anymore. That game was so depressing. And I really thought the Lions were going to win, because the Niners are a stacked team that never lives up to their potential. And
No.
the Lions just the opposite. They play above and beyond.
I really just wanted that Detroit Buffalo Super Bowl. I mean, those two teams.
Oh, that would be great.
So they're spiritually connected. And
Definitely.
And instead, it's the fucking Niners
I
and
know.
the Chiefs. I
God.
could care less
I
about
want them
this
both
game.
to lose.
I
Yeah.
hear so many people saying that, but I bet it'll get gigantic ratings.
Sure.
Well,
I can't
I'll
wait to
watch
see
it. I'll definitely
I'll watch it. Of course,
So-
I'll watch it.